Hey everybody, welcome back to Car and Driver's very luxurious video cave. I'm Carlos Lago.
And I'm David Beard.
And we're talking about David's experience driving in Lightning Lap this year. You had some spicy cars to hot lap.
Yeah, there was definitely some horsepower to throw around.
Exactly.
Yep.
We're going to start with the slowest vehicle that you drove, but before we do, how many Lightning Laps have you driven
This
now?
would be my 4th year.
And how many laps do you think you have?
Hundreds. Call it 300. Yeah.
Do you dream of VIR at night?
I do. I do. It is the best week of the year.
Good. Well, let's jump into it. We're going to start with the Lexus IS500 F Sport Performance, which is its full name. So I believe this lap started on, this was the third day, right?
Yes, this was third day.
Okay, so what are you feeling jumping into this car?
By this time, you've already got it felt out pretty good.
Yeah.
Going into it, we thought there might be some issues with the brakes.
Yes.
But learning that they installed a prototype pad that will soon be offered as an accessory.
Quote unquote prototype, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once that was sorted out, braking wasn't an issue.
Yeah, so this also came with a transcooler on it too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There was an auxiliary transcooler that's supposed to be an accessory, but even with it, the transmission was still cooking.
Yeah. We'll actually hear that at some point during this lap, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
you will hear that. It was actually pushing out smoke on day 2, I believe, and the tech on site used a Red Bull can and a piece of hose and fashioned up an oil catch can under the hood.
That's great. That's race car ingenuity. This thing sounds fantastic.
Yeah, the car sounds great.
Wish it had a bit more tire, right? But
yeah, it's probably its biggest drawback are the Bridgestones. They just do not have any grip. You can hear in almost every corner they're just howling in protest.
Talked about this with Dave. There's a difference between sporty cars and cars that are actually built for racetrack use, and it really shows up in the braking, the tire performance. But one thing, this thing does transition to oversteer really easily, doesn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
You have to be very patient with throttle.
Beautiful oversteer, very enjoyable oversteer, but slow oversteer.
Yes, that is not the fast way. Like even here at 100 miles an hour, the tires are howling, and you really have to slow down here for this blind turn.
It's not a featherweight car either, 4,000 pounds.
It's not light.
Yeah, so you're managing a lot of weight on tires that are not built for extensive track use like you're doing right now.
Right. Patient to throttle here, so you're not over there in the dirt.
Oh, that sounds so good though.
The engine is fantastic.
This would be a great driver, wouldn't it? Like on the road, not on track, but
right.
Yeah.
And this car isn't designed for this type of activity. VIR is a torture test for, performance vehicles or any vehicle. So have patient here for sure. Maybe a little early.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's an oversteer.
I think we already missed the transmission bouncing off the rev limiter back in the S's, but
it just got too hot, right?
Yeah, it gets hot. Yeah.
But this wasn't too far off the RCF track. Well, 2 seconds is a fair distance, but I mean that car was Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. Here we're on a Bridgestone Potenza. There wouldn't take a lot to make this thing line up with that RCF track edition, right?
Not at all. I think just a set of tires would probably put it really close.
Yeah.
The RCF had better brakes as well.
Yeah. So pads and fluid and tire, you'd probably be right there.
And definitely a chassis more tuned for use like this. This is a little soft.
It's a luxury.
You can't really get a sense for how much roll is in it through the camera. But
right. Yeah. The camera, adds 10 pounds, subtracts 20 miles an hour.
Yep.
You're getting on those curbs pretty good.
Oh, I love the curbing.
This thing swallowed it up, or did it work out all right?
Yeah. That one you kind of get a little air off if you hit fast enough. I think a few years ago I had a BRZ TS completely in the air there.
Yeah. Well, there's less resistance in the air than there is on the ground.
That's true.
Right? So if you can get tires up, you're actually going to be okay. Did you feel like that was a good representation for the time, or did you feel like there was any more in it?
No, I think that's a good representation for the time. That was a pretty strong lap. I didn't make too many errors there, and definitely used up all of the tire.
Of all the spares that we had too, right?
Yes.
Now we move on to one of the many SUVs that showed up this year.
Yes.
I mentioned on it in a different video, I think there were more SUVs than there were cars here with manual transmissions.
That's very true.
And as tragic as that is, these SUVs were fast. Let's talk about the X4 M Competition.
Yeah, this is my first SUV I've driven here.
What's the experience like going from...
That right there was tires in the air.
Was it really?
Oh yeah. And that was one of the most unnerving feelings. That was like the scariest moment I guess I've had here so far.
Yeah.
Because you don't want your tires in the air when you have to get to the brakes to make the right down through Hogpen.
Right. Yeah, you can't brake so good when your front tire's not touching the ground.
Not at all.
That thing that you don't really think about.
Yeah. So,
a little bit of entry oversteer there.
Yeah, it squiggles around a lot. It's extremely stiff.
Yeah.
And as you saw with the tires getting in the air. So you have to be really cautious of the curbs and how you're hitting them. 'Cause you don't want to have your tires off the ground. It might look cool in a video or a picture, but
oh, yeah.
when you're trying to set a lap time, no good. So I found myself kind of tiptoeing around all the curbing. Like right there, tires off the ground again.
So you couldn't reap that advantage you would expect an SUV to have with all the suspension travel, just be able to soak up the curbing.
This thing is extremely rigid.
Yeah. How did the all-wheel drive system work out for you?
It works.
To the uphill S's.
It works good. I mean, I chickened out here a little bit knowing that the thing was bouncing off curbs. The steering is hyperactive too. You can see just the slightest movement, and the thing's darting over, which you're having to correct for.
Yeah, you're not putting a lot of input into that wheel.
And here with the high center of gravity, I was like, no, I'm not gonna hustle this thing here. Do a barrel roll through the infield.
You'd come in there with the highest entry speed. We'd probably record all week if you tried that, though.
Yeah.
Right?
But the engine is awesome. The inline six is a ripper.
There were a number of vehicles here with this engine.
It's true.
This engine was fairly common. This engine might have been more prevalent than manuals as well. But man, this engine does rip, doesn't it?
Yep. They say it makes 503 horsepower.
Yeah.
I think it's more than that.
Feels like every bit of that and then some, right?
Yeah. 503 on its worst day.
The German horses are a little bit stronger than the rest of the world's, right? It's funny when you watch the roof angle versus, on an SUV versus a car, you can see how much higher this sits up off the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you letting the transmission shift itself?
Yes. Right. It's bouncing all around here. That's usually a section I can hustle through pretty good, but not when your tires are teeter-tottering around.
Yeah.
And maybe it would have done better had we played around with a softer suspension setting, but we only had the one set of tires. There wasn't a whole lot of time to fiddle around with the individual settings.
That's right. We called this out in other videos where all the BMWs showed up with just the set of tires that were on the car. So you guys didn't get as much time to really test things out and try to get the best time that you could, because the time spent learning the car is time spent eating away at the tires, though.
Right. I think I did 3 semi-hot laps before I set this one.
Yeah, just to learn it and its nuances and how stiff it is. But still, respectable time, because it beat the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio.
Yes.
It got it home.
Which was a sweetheart of an SUV here.
Yeah.
And there's probably a couple more seconds to take off of this one too.
Yeah. But hey, in order to set the time, you got to have the tires, right?
Exactly.
But that's still really capable for what this is. Kind of incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the Bentley Continental GT Speed's kind of another outlier this year, isn't it? But hey, it's called the Speed. Might as well put it on track, right?
It's speed. It's got the power. This is the first Bentley we've ever had at Lightning Lap. Yeah. So that's something.
This is a W12 with 650 horsepower, right?
Right.
Same underpinnings as the Panamera.
Wait. Is it W12 or V12?
I believe it's a W12.
Oh boy.
Oh, why? I could be wrong too.
I think it's, I don't know, I could be wrong.
It's got 12 cylinders.
It has 12 cylinders.
That's what matters. 12 cylinders and 5,000 pounds.
Yes.
And,
not light.
Not a lot of tire either, right?
No. It's just the Pirelli P0, PC4s. The Michelin engineer on site said they don't have a stickier tire that they could even offer for it.
Really?
Just because of the weight.
What's the biggest challenge with a car this powerful and this heavy and this, as equipped?
A lot of it's the braking.
Yeah.
it's a very fast car.
Yes.
So, what goes must slow. So, and it's got the brakes to do it. Those 17.3-inch carbon ceramic discs.
It's insane.
They're satellite dishes.
my Integra in college had smaller wheels.
Right? So, it's, and all that weight's sending a lot of energy through the tires.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to manage them throughout the lap. You don't want to overload them too soon and get them all gooey.
And I think I read right in the copy that the tire grip would just sort of fade over the course of one lap, right?
Yeah.
So you really had to tiptoe through each corner just to make sure you had enough to get through the lap.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really want to try to preserve them throughout the lap. And the tech that was on site, myself, we played with tire pressures throughout the 3 days too. We ended up bleeding a lot of air out of them.
Yeah.
Right there. Like, please stop, please turn.
The thing is, though, if you use the bypass, you get a much faster lap time.
It's true. I've tried that. Casey says they don't count.
Bummer.
But even with this car, you have to be, even though it has all-wheel drive, you have to be pretty patient with the throttle because it does want to bring the tail end around.
Yeah, I saw that wiggle as you exited right there. That's pretty remarkable for a vehicle, again, that's this big and this heavy, right?
Yep. Whereas in like the video I'll watch here soon, the Panamera,
Yeah.
there's no patience required with that one, but it's also on a pretty substantially different tire.
Yeah. Thoroughly optimized for this kind of experience,
Exactly.
right? Yeah. This is more for
This is your
showing up to the
daily
valet.
tire. Yep.
Yeah. And I think I recall right that in this car, this was the only car that you actually noticed the dip at the start-stop line, right?
Yeah, it kind of lifts around. It kind of did one of these motions.
Most cars here, if not all the cars here, you don't really notice the dip, but this one is more apparent.
Yeah, it lifts around a little bit.
Yeah.
What we didn't talk about in the text was this car showed up with just 85 miles on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Thoroughly broken in now.
What a way to break it in. I said this is like taking your newborn to a Metallica concert.
The time though overall is mid-pack for the group, which is not bad.
Yeah, no,
right?
It's an impressive time for 5,000 pounds. I think it's, we always try to break down laps into
Yeah.
segments, and this would be the quickest lap for something over 5,000 pounds.
That's an achievement.
Yep.
That's
something.
a wild achievement. Let's move on to the Ford Mustang Mach 1. Now, you have quite a history of doing Mustang hot laps here, right?
I did the GT500 last year, yes.
Yeah. Who did the GT350? Do you remember?
Tony did
Tony, okay.
GT350 back in, 2016?
So you're stepping down in power, but this thing's a sweetheart, isn't it?
This car is so fun to drive.
Yeah. And this is like the ultimate part spin Mustang.
Yep.
With all the best stuff. Bummer it doesn't have the flat plane crank V8, but everything else is just killer.
Yeah, it is a track car.
Yeah. Yeah, this one is set up for this kind of stuff. You've got Cup 2 Michelins.
Yep.
You've got one of the few manuals.
One of the few
Right.
manuals. The purist will smash me for using rev matching and no lift shifting, but why not use it? It's there.
Why not use the things that make it go faster, right?
Yep.
The no lift shift is one of the greatest. That was a sweet exit. That was sweet. But I love no lift shift. It's so much fun to use.
Oh, it's great. And you can shift the thing so quick.
Yeah. Man, you're carrying so much speed through here. Just the difference between the vehicles that we've seen so far, it's so obvious how much more grip this car has.
And I love to power shift this thing.
Yeah.
So
We're
just
hurting.
hanging through here. I actually text Billy Johnson, Ford's development driver and factory racer for a few years, the night before, and he coached me through this section via text.
What was the strategy?
Don't lift.
Don't lift. Don't
Yeah.
lift the uphill S's. Okay.
Yeah. Lift slightly over the first right.
Yeah.
And then back to walk.
Back
And
on
I
it.
tried it.
You feel like you got there?
Yeah, there's a little more to go. But
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just run through the gears so quick in this thing.
And ultimately, the time was close. You beat the GT350R time,
Yep.
right? Which is a testament to, continual improvement of these vehicles over the years.
Here it didn't want to rev match on the downshift. If you have too much yaw into it, it won't let you do it. So that's
Gotcha.
why I just straighten the wheel real quick and
Get
hit it
the
again.
gear in.
Just grab and go with the gears. It's great. And the car sounds so good.
Yeah.
Too. It's loud.
Yes.
Try to get a little too much here.
Oop, yep. Cost you a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're trusting the grip, like
You're just on power. Let the cup twos just eat.
Yeah.
Quick downshift. Smash the curbs. I think there's always more that can be had in that corner right there.
Of course,
but, you know,
yeah.
That's the thing. Every year I learn more.
This is such a long track with so many opportunities for error that getting it all right is going to be such a challenge. But that's the point, right?
Yep.
Oh, it sounds so good too.
Yeah. Maybe I used the curbs too much. One of the laps earlier in the week, I broke the wiring off the flaps and the mufflers.
Oops.
So it was always loud, which
That's
fine with me.
That's an improvement.
Yeah. Who needs quiet mode when you're on a racetrack anyways?
Exactly. It was interesting this year that this was the only traditional sports car around this price.
Yeah.
Right. It's the only other, like the BRZ and the 86 were the only other manual coupes.
That's true.
Right. There was
How
no
many-
Camaro. Right.
Yeah, how many naturally aspirated engines were there?
Not that many.
4, 5?
Yeah.
5?
Right.
Yeah.
And that lap time was really strong. There was no vehicle that went faster for this money or less. Right.
No.
That's an incredible accomplishment for, essentially the GT350 replacement.
Right.
In many ways.
Yeah.
Very cool. Now, what are you thinking about jumping in the Porsche Panamera Turbo S now?
I'm thinking that I want to beat Casey's AMG GT63 lap time from a few years ago.
That was the bogey.
And I talked to Frank earlier in the year, Porsche's head of PR, about whether this car could do it or not. And he really didn't think so. And I told him, bring it, it's going to do it.
Yeah. This thing is really set up. I mean, you've got Cup 2s, you've got 620 horsepower, you have a lot of the equipment here to set you up for hustling down this track. And you were moving. You nearly hit 160 there.
Yeah, this car is no joke. I think we're at 1.14 G or
Yeah, it was
something
the
in that
fastest
turn.
exit, I think, out of this corner.
Yeah, you can just stomp the throttle. You can really hold the corner tight there. It just goes. There's never any threat of the rear coming around. And the turn-ins is so good for a big four-door, sedan, even though it's a hatch.
For a 4,700 pound.
Yeah.
Luxury sedan, ultimately.
But even its gearbox got hot. You can hear it short shift itself right there.
Oh, really?
Yep. But it's got so much torque that it didn't really phase it at all. It just pulls right through it.
The thing I noticed through all the notes is everybody kept talking about how easy Porsches are to drive in this one too, right?
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
That's been a trait with them for a long time, is they're generally cars you can hop into and immediately get up to pace. There's not a lot of learning curves, fairly flat, right?
Right. And it's a very comfortable car. It's not too rigid out there.
Are you sweating like crazy when you get out, or?
No, not in this one.
Get the seat ventilation on?
Yep. Hit the curbing too hard right
Yeah.
there, and I think that definitely cost me some tenths. I really wanted to hit the 570S lap time from a few years ago.
That'd be
In a four-door.
Yeah, in a four-door.
So, and I think it was 8 tenths off.
Yeah.
Which is still really impressive.
Not bad to be in that conversation with a Porsche Panamera.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, this car flirts with a lot of mid-engine times. No, I definitely was not sweating. I have the ventilated seats on right now. Oh, yeah. If it's got ventilated seats, that's the first thing that gets turned on.
Running with mid-engine exotics with a ventilated seat luxury sedan, hatchback, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And I took some people out for rides on the last day, and I was like, you have to experience this thing. Look how stupid it is.
Share the thrill. That's the best part, though, right? Words only convey so much about what it's like to go this quick.
Yep.
But when you can strap in, 3 more people with you, because it's 2 more people. 3 more people? Yeah, 3 more people.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
there's so much grip.
Yeah.
And the steering's so good. Brakes are monsters as well.
Track day, easy mode.
Yeah.
Right?
Hop in, family. We're going to go lap VIR.
Yeah. It would be funny to show up to a track day with this and just outrun nearly everybody there and be like, well, I'm just going to drive home now.
Yeah, put your family in there and just go dust a couple of Corvettes.
And ultimately, you did go faster than the AMG GT63S.
Yep.
Which, congratulations. It's
Thank
gotta
you.
feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lighter and more powerful AMG GT63S.
Right?
Yeah.
What's up, Mercedes? You better bring it for next year. Thank you for sharing your thoughts about
Happy
your
to.
hot lap experience. What do you hope to see next year?
Oh boy, Nissan Z will be good.
Yeah.
Obviously Z06 will be very good.
Yeah, Z06 will be very special.
GT4 RS.
Yeah.
That's going to be a beast. I don't know.
Which SUVs are you most excited to drive next year?
None of them.
Hey, thank you guys for watching. If there's anything you want to see next year at Lightning Lap, let us know in the comments below. If you like this video, go ahead and tell us by clicking like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
Thank you.